Good evening, folks, and happy Thursday to you. Welcome to The First Line. I am Taylor Snyder. With me today is my co-host, Michael Zingroni, and our special guest, Thomas Mittensup. We're going to bring you everything all sports-related, both professional and collegiate. Gentlemen, it's a little dreary today. I have to ask you, how are we feeling in comparison to the previous 2 days here in Philadelphia?
Compared to the previous 2 days, I'm feeling the worst I've ever felt in my whole entire life.
Yeah.
It was beautiful yesterday, and I was wearing shorts yesterday.
It was.
Now I don't want to go outside.
I don't want to go outside either. Thomas, do you think it's always sunny in Philadelphia? Do you think that's a cliche?
Man, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I'm from D.C., so, you know.
We're both from D.C. I forgot to mention that. We have another D.C. guy in here, which is something I guess we needed, apparently, had to fit the agenda.
Yeah, I mean, one day is sunny, one day is, rainy, so, I mean, I really don't know what to say.
I don't know anything else, but one thing I do know is that this Temple basketball team loves to take us on a Six Flags roller coaster, and that's actually what we're going to be beginning the show off today with, is a little bit of Temple hoops.
Hey, at least they got the best ride.
Yeah. Or best ride, yeah, pretty much. I know it's not about it's not about the destination; it's about the journey along the way.
Yeah,
and I feel like Temple's really embodied that this season. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit more of what they embodied. Inconsistency at 15-12 right now. This Temple basketball team is flirting with an NIT Saturday and an NCAA tournament on Friday, and you can't tell which date they're going to show up for or which date they're not going to show up for. I don't know which girl they're standing up, and I don't know which girl is the real bachelorette, the real Rose. At this point right now, Temple sits at 15-12. They have 3 more games remaining, a big one on Sunday versus UCF, who they lost to 60-39 previously this season. They're coming off a really awful loss to Houston at home, a game that was pretty much needed for this Temple team to keep them at least in contention or in conversation with this NCAA tournament approaching. Gentlemen, I got to ask you, 15-12 right now, sitting middle of the pack, a team that was flirting with number 4 in the American Conference last week, but now they're back in the middle of the pack. More than flirting. They got UConn, Tulsa, and UCF, not in any particular order. I want to start out with UCF, Mike. Going into this final stretch here of the season with the conference tournament coming up, is there anything that you can give to this team other than we haven't seen all season? Like, what's really got to happen here for Temple to really get in this tournament?
They just have to fight. Other than this little winning streak that we just got off of with the Wichita State and Houston loss, we just have to fight more. Like we haven't been fighting enough, and I felt like soon as because we're doing a great job of that with the win streak. Then soon as Wichita State took us down, they outpunched us towards the end. We just lost it all against Houston, and it showed. Like, this team very easily can get down on themselves and just like not do anything and just play like one of the worst teams in all of NCAA.
Right.
I mean, it's just they really don't have a certain identity, and I feel like they've been searching for that identity
all season long.
All season. I don't know what this team is. I still don't.
Yeah.
I still don't.
Thomas, what do you got to say about this Temple team?
Yeah, just to piggyback off what he said, I see no fight in this team. You got these ball-dominant players with Quinn Rose, Josh Brown, Obi Nagionia, and I see none of these players, say, give me the ball, let me take it to the rim. None of these players have fight, and that really starts off with the head coach, Frank Dunphy. I think if it wasn't for like any of these boosters who want to keep him at the school, I really see no reason for him to stay at Temple, to be honest.
Right, and it's been a big storyline all season. I mean, you see it in today's platform with social media. Even if Temple wins games, it seems like #FireDumphy is still in that thread, regardless of if we're winning or losing games. And it's very tough to see because of how well this team started out. I mean, you can't dismiss the fact that they've now beaten Auburn, who's still dominating that SEC. Clemson had a tough one last night.
Those were the 2 games that were keeping us within bubble reach.
And I think without those 2 games,
Wichita State too.
Yeah.
Without those 2 games, we'll be lucky to get a date with the NIT. I think and I mean I don't know at this point. They were saying last week Temple's odds were still very good, but they had to be near perfect. Well, despite that huge game versus Wichita State, on the road, it's not easy to win. I mean, they put up the most points in one half by any NCAA team that's ever come into Wichita, Kansas. And they still lost that game. And you got to think, after Quentin scores this many points and Shiz is going off, Devondre Perry's coming off the bench, Obi has that hot start, starts out, what was he make, 4 straight 3-pointers or something like that. And then you lose that game by 5 points. That's demoralizing. And you had to come home and you had to play Houston. And I feel like this team, you made a good point, Thomas, this team thought they were going to come in, at home, we've been playing well, we had this win streak before Wichita State, and we're going to handle Houston. And that's been a storyline for Temple. Last season they played a close game versus Cincinnati at home, or even this season too, they played a close game on the road. Or was it? Yeah, no, it was at home versus Cincinnati this year. Sorry to confuse you, but it was the same exact scenario. They play Cincinnati, they lose by 2 points. It was a water bottle throw heard around the earth, around the Philadelphia area, all over ESPN. And then they go to play Cincinnati, and I want to turn that game off 5 minutes into the game. And the same exact thing happened to Houston. And tragically, it had to happen in quite literally the biggest game of the season. Now that they've lost to Houston, they've pretty much got to win these last 3. They're not going to get a top 4. I'm going to let you know now. I think Tulsa's going to finish this out. I think they're going to have to play in that first round. Probably going to get East Carolina, who they lost.
Well, they're 3 games out of the 4, and there's 3 games left. So
there are 3 games left.
Chances
but you have
the
chances are low, and you also have to consider the fact. Look who Tulsa's playing. Look who UCF's playing. Look who Memphis is playing. I look at especially Memphis. If we're just naming games.
Okay, so Tulsa has a game against Cincinnati, so they could lose that.
You need them to lose to East Carolina.
So yeah,
you really need them to lose because it's 7-10 right now. 7-10. So they're 3 games out. You're gonna need East Carolina to win. I truthfully think it's gonna be Tulane or ECU in that first round. And last season it was ECU, and that did not end well.
Yeah, I feel this team is better than last year's team though. This team.
But the question is, they're such a high-low team.
Can we do anything in a conference tournament, though?
I think we can.
I thought last week we can. I still think we can, but I thought last week when we were on that win streak, I said this team's going to run the table. Absolutely, I said they were going to run the table. But now I'm looking at a team where we played Houston. I'm going to be blunt. Quentin Rose was awful in that game. And
everybody was awful.
So everyone. I think J.P. Mormon maybe had the best shooting half in that second half. J.P. Mormon had about 3 knockdowns in the fourth quarter. Not NBA terms, but at the end of the second half. And I looked at Quentin that game. I see a team that really just gave up about 8 minutes, and it was a 10-0, 13-0 start there for Houston, and it was over. It was completely over. Start of that game, finish, there was never any life. That team really gave up, and it was really sad to watch. And they pretty much dug themselves in a hole now where if they don't win these last 3 games, they're pretty much relying on winning, if not finishing in that top 2 in the conference tournament. And I don't know if they can do that. The Temple team that showed up last week can do that. Will the Temple team that showed up against Houston show up in the conference tournament like they did last season? Who knows? It depends. This is a deep team. It's experienced. I really look at a lot of experience here on this team.
Play as well.
Right.
Yeah,
100% guard play.
Yeah.
And next season, Josh and Obi are going to be gone. And you may not think that's a big deal, but Josh Brown, regardless of if he gives you 20 points a night or if he only gives you 8, that's a senior guy who's been to a pair of tournaments now, was on that team when he was a junior, took the red shirt, was hurt. Junior year, loses to Iowa in the first round on that tip-in. He was still on that team. That was a great Temple team that year with Quentin DeCozy, and so was Obi. And, when those guys are playing well, I saw Obi play versus Wichita State, and I was impressed. I was floored with the way he played in that basketball game, despite fouling out in the final 2 minutes with Devondre Perry. And I look at guys like that. When they're on, they're going to miss those guys. When they're on, you are definitely going to miss those guys. My question is, into next season, is there any sense of hope even going into next season? We're not going to have the experience. I love the guys, but I don't look at Quentin and Shiz Alston as leaders on this basketball team. You know what I mean?
Do we have defense? That's the thing.
We do. We've had a great defense all season, man.
Yeah, but the thing, defense comes work ethic. That's usually 40% of your defensive effort and your defensive performance is how hard a team works. And this team has shown a lot of times that they are not willing to work when it comes to crunch time.
100%. No discipline.
And that's been the problem.
No discipline.
And like I said, that comes off, starts off with the head coach. And, with the talent on this team, it's just hard to believe that, that this season would just turn out the way it has been. So,
this is a great conference, though. Really, though. I'm going to give it to the American. I look at this conference, and remember when SMU had that great start? If we can get a good laugh for a second, remember when Arizona State was number 1 in the nation, right, and SMU was out here pulling off upsets, and that was supposed to be a big deal?
All right, so I'm looking at the American standings right now and just possible scenarios. Okay, so if Temple wants to make the tournament, I say you have to win these next 3 games, correct? Well, they play UCF. They're only a game behind them, and UCF's in the 5th spot.
Right.
So there is a chance UCF could lose to Temple. We win. We win out. UCF also has another game against Wichita State where they could lose that game, so I'd knock them out. We could get the 5th seed, which could give us a South Florida, or which would, it'll give us South Florida.
I think we're going to handle South Florida.
That's fine. And who do we get the round after that? Tulsa, if we win that. That's doable. That's something that's insanely doable.
So you're thinking we could get into a semifinal here. Do you think even if we got to that semifinal,
we have to win out, and let me look at Memphis's last 3 games. Or they got 4 games. They have a game against Houston.
I think Houston's going to handle
But they
that.
play UCF and ECU. But they also play Connecticut in Connecticut.
I think Houston may be the hottest team in this conference right now. I'm going to go as far as to say that. That was a scary team that came to the Lee Core Center on Sunday. They were really good. And I'm not even saying Temple was bad. You got to give it to them. There was no response. They were throwing that around the arc. They were getting it in the paint. Look at the comparison in paint points. Houston was getting to the rim. They were making plays. Temple got immensely out-rebounded in that game. And I just saw all that together, and I looked at this team. I'm like, they've given up. If that's any indication of what the rest of this season's going to go, like, you can
this
chalk it
Houston
down.
team flashed signs last year, but this year they're really putting it together.
Oh, yeah. Rob Grammy.
I mean, just looking back at the schedule, this is where games just like Memphis and Houston and Cincy just make you lose your mind.
And
over,
Tulane, too. You can't, I mean, that
like
Tulane
the first
score,
times you played them, it's insane.
Tulane score may not look close when you look at the final score, but that entire game, Temple was pretty much dominating.
Yeah, it was just the first. It was like the first 5 minutes. Tulane got to like a 15-point lead.
Yeah.
Then the rest of the game, Temple scored them by 5, but just couldn't go over the hump to make the comeback, complete the comeback.
I'll tell you what, if they can get shooting like they were shooting during that win streak, I really do think they're going to win out. I do think they're going to beat Tulsa, and I think they're going to beat UConn because UConn is a whole nother disaster just crumbling right now in Connecticut.
With the FBI investigation, hovering over their heads.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, it's just like, I truthfully think this team can win out and will. I really think they're going to respond. It's senior day. It's Josh and Obi's last game at home, versus a UCF team. But even if you finish out this season right now at an 18-12 record, maybe we get lucky and get that 5 spot. We can get that 5 spot.
If we get that 5 spot, we're in a good spot because we get a nice little warm up game against South Florida.
Right.
It's no biggie. We can do that. I mean, if we lose that, we don't deserve to make the tournament nor the NIT. So we should win that. And saying we do, we get a Tulsa team, which I mean, it's not Houston, it's not Wichita State, it's not Cincy, it's not the cream of the crop of the, conference.
They
so
gave them a game
we could do this.
Go around at home. Temple only won by what was it, 2 points. 1 or 2 points?
Or they won by 1 point.
1 point, yeah.
It's a good game though. I mean, neutral
game,
site. I mean, it's a game like, hey, if you want to make the tournament, you have to win games like this.
100%.
The thing is, listen, when you're getting in the tournament, the games are bigger than this.
Right.
So like, if you want to make the tournament, you're gonna have to do some things. So it's very doable. I mean, if they can make a run, say get to the semifinal, and they would have to play Cincinnati in the semifinal if they get the 5 spot, which would
right.
not be ideal, let's say, but or who knows, maybe Wichita State or even Houston, who's only a game back of the conference, could get into that number 1, and we can maybe play Wichita State or Houston number 1, teams we think we can beat, even though we just laid an egg against Houston. I mean, if we have fire, we can definitely compete with them. So,
yeah,
who knows?
I'm definitely looking at a couple of guys here in the final stretch here. Josh and Obi, how are they going to finish being seniors? Quentin and Chiz. Man, they're either going to give you 20 or something points tonight, or they're not going to score at all, and that's got to stop. They've got to stay consistent.
Especially Shiz, man.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
I mean, usually it's shit. Like, I mean,
he's been inconsistent this whole season.
Yeah.
Really.
What game was that when he could not get it? It was Wichita. He played awful versus Wichita.
yeah, the first game, yeah. The second game, he played phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, everybody played phenomenal.
We
that
were
game.
great, and I think that's what hurt them most was how great Temple was and how they still lost that game. I don't know if that's like the ultimate thing that's going to demoralize them, but man, it looks like it carried over into Sunday. I'm just making a point, you know what I mean? Because that was awful.
Oh, that
was embarrassing.
If we win that game, the Houston game is definitely different.
That was just embarrassing. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is a big-time game. At least give them a game. I mean, we're trying to, because all week everyone was talking, watch out for Temple. And I couldn't believe it because sometimes, when I hear my school's name in the big spotlight, it almost makes me nervous. Like, shh, don't talk about it.
Yeah, because every time you do, we yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Every time we do.
And they were giving us some
good.
respect. And every journalist was saying, man, that game versus Houston, Temple's got a shot to establish themselves right here. Like, really say, yeah, we belong in that tournament. And I don't think they belong. Whoa, that was bad. That was not a good way to say we belong in that tournament. I think the best way to make up for saying that whatever they were trying to say on Sunday would be to win out and hopefully get to the semifinals of this AAC tournament coming up in Orlando. But obviously a lot to look forward to hopefully here with basketball coming up, wrapping up here. We got March Madness right around the corner, though,
right
boys.
there.
So we can't just keep the spotlight directly on the Temple Owls here. We're actually going to move forward to March Madness when we get back from the break. We're going to get some opinions here. Louisville coming up, top 25. Who do we like going into March here? All coming up right here after the break. And we're back here after the break. Got our coffees now. Gentlemen, how's everyone's coffee?
It's great. Hydration, energy, everything. I'm ready to go.
Well, too bad we don't have any coffee. That was a lie. And we're back here. We're going to be talking about the Louisville Cardinals playing in the great state of Kentucky. Great chicken there. Recently, a lot of allegations have been coming out against recruitment. As Thomas was mentioning over the break, a lot of money coming in from Adidas with players not visiting the school. Definitely a lot of speculation here. I'm going to start it out with you guys, actually, because I talked a lot on the last segment. Overall here with... the banners being stripped, overall the title being stripped from Louisville, the 2013 year, played Trey Burke's Michigan team that year. What's everyone's, opinion here? Do we feel like this is fair in what the NCAA is doing to Louisville right now?
Well, it's a real tough one because you can't rewrite history, and that team was they won the national championship, and to take a national championship banner down, it's Rick Pitino's fault, but I really see no reason to take down national championship banner. How many years? It's 5 years after. 5 years after, yeah.
So that's
that's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
No need to do that.
Well, I know Mike has a strong opinion here because he picked Trey Burke's Michigan team to win that year.
Yeah, so my bracket group, I finished third place that year. The top three guys, we all had Louisville, Michigan in the final, but I had Michigan winning, the other two had Louisville. So unfortunately I lost. But if we're doing this whole thing and Michigan gets the dub, I'm just trying to get my money. But I mean Louisville's still the national champ. I mean they played the best at tournament. I mean there's really not much to say. I mean it's just it's the same thing with Joe Paterno and Penn State. Penn State was good. They're better than everybody else. This doesn't take away from I don't think Adidas money and paid escorts is beating Michigan and Trey Burke. And I don't think they're on the court or anything.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to it, the 38-0 Kentucky team's clean, no cheating there. They're really good, but they got beaten. It's not like this was an unbeatable team here. So hey, they're still the national champions in my mind.
But on the other side, you got players who never visited Louisville, going to the school, and actually committing to the school without ever visiting the school. And so, there's two sides of the story, here as well. So. It's a real tricky one.
Yeah, it's real tricky, but at the end of the day, that's what happened on the court. Even if they shouldn't have got him, if they got him a wrong way, they got him a wrong way. But at the end of the day, it's just what happened. It's hard to take away what happened because it's not like you can say a lot of what ifs in sports. Even if they did it the wrong way, we say the Patriots, film teams practices, but they still got their Super Bowl. Because they did this, they did that, they might have cheated here and there, but at the end of the day, they just won, so you just got to suck it up, and they did it.
Yeah, and I feel as if, this really shouldn't disrupt what's going on at Louisville or really anywhere else because, we've seen a lot this year with Michigan State, obviously in the past with Penn State, two completely different things, but this is not the first time, an allegation has come up in the NCAA. We've seen it with other college basketball schools, and it's a lot of integrity. The NCAA really tries to uphold that because it is such a wealthy organization, and there's so much money and there's so much to represent because the NCAA is in charge of, college athletics. These people that our kids look up to and, all these people that really get a lot of this attention with March Madness, the college football playoff. And, they really try to uphold the standard that beyond athletics, there are, young men and women who are coming in to play college sports who uphold integrity, do it the right way, coaches, organizations. So I understand that, I don't think this is more of a personal thing. This is more so of what the NCAA is trying to do to make them look the best way possible that they can look in one of these specific scenarios. Personally, I think that allegations should be bestowed upon Louisville, but when you really think about it, Mike does make a good point. That was a great team that year. Russ Smith, Peyton Silva, can never forget the Kevin Ware injury. Really an inspiring year for Louisville, and they played a great team. That year with Michigan, Glenn Robinson, Trey Burke, two great players.
That team
on
was a
Michigan.
Squad. That Michigan team was
Tim
a squad.
Hardaway Jr. was on the team.
Yeah, Tim Hardaway Jr. was nice.
What a team! Honestly, that was a great year. That was the Wichita State Syracuse.
Oh, that was an awesome fun. That was an awesome. I was
Syracuse
high on
wasn't
Michigan
even supposed
that
to
year.
be there, and they made it to the Final Four.
that was like peak performance.
Everyone was like, "How did Syracuse make it?"
That was 2016, right?
No, it was 13.
No, that was 13. Yeah.
Syracuse made it to the Final Four.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Wichita
they
State.
Yeah.
No one expected that either.
No one expected it, and it was just madness because everyone was so pissed, especially the ACC.
Remember when we got the UConn Kentucky final when there were
great.
7 and 8 seed?
Great, Kemba
Just gotta
Walker.
love it.
Kemba Walker, man. Yeah, honestly,
that could happen this year.
it could. And speaking of this year, actually, we're gonna continue to talk about this, further down in
As more stuff comes out, 'cause not even all the stuff's out yet. Like
nothing's really come out. But I tell you,
only like very little.
I'll tell you what has come out though, Michael. Them top 25 rankings right now, and March Madness is right around the corner. I believe the date is February 22nd, which would mean March is the next one, which means we're going to be quite busy. Which also means predictions. It means a lot of things, guys, but we're going to start it out here from 1 to 25. Obviously, UVA being 1 right now to 25. Are there any teams in this top 25 that you look at and you're already smacking your lips? You're already looking at them to pick to win the whole thing this year, Mike. Do you have any teams?
I have 2 teams. Because I have to, because these are just the 2 teams that stand out above the rest, in my opinion, are Villanova and Michigan State. Teams and programs that have been there, done that you can trust, that are just more, just overall sound than other teams like Virginia. They got a really good defense, but how great is that offense? Villanova and Michigan State are just more the overall teams I can trust. Duke, I'm really not liking Duke this year. That they just scream like, oh, they're gonna be put as a 3 seed and lose in the first or second round. Yeah, I'm gonna really love them next year. But I mean, when just as a college basketball fan, I just hate to take this view, but I just have to. But when you see teams like Texas Tech, Auburn, Arizona State, all those teams, Nevada, Middle Tennessee, all
Right.
teams like that ranked, you just got to think like, well, I'm gonna go with the teams I've seen there, done that all before. Michigan State and Villanova. I've never seen Xavier in the top 5,
Right.
so how much can I trust them? So I just got to go Villanova and Michigan State for me.
I would disagree with you on the Duke point because you got some nice. Marvin Bagley is out right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think when he comes back, I think that would change the trajectory of the
Yeah, I
season.
mean, when he comes back,
Absolutely.
presumably he'd be at 100%,
And you got-
so that's big.
You got the point guard play with Trayvon Duval,
Mhm.
and so I think what really helps them this season is Marvin Bagley coming out, and they see their whole team in full force without him. Grayson Allen, his senior season as well. I think it's gonna work out. I think Duke is one team that could be real scary. You also Michigan State with Miles Bridges, Villanova. You just never know with Villanova.
Jalen Brunson's a grown man.
Yeah, he's a man.
Phil Booth coming back too.
Yeah, I mean,
He's a man.
The Villanova program, like me and Taylor were saying this when we were watching that game, like they're a bunch of grown men, like
They're
especially
robots.
when you saw them like next to the Temple players who were generally skinny compared to other NCAA teams. Like Villanova's some grown men. They're some grown people.
I want to put a lot of I feel like, a lot of focus has been put on this conference in the past, but especially this year, the Big 12, I've been really impressed with. Texas Tech and Kansas being 2 teams. I've been very impressed with the way Keenan Evans and Texas Tech has been playing all season. They're 1 game back in Kansas right now in the Big 12. Kansas is always a reliable pick. I really like the Big 12 this season, and I'm going to agree, piggyback off what Mike said. I've seen Villanova play, and I've seen Villanova win this before. So I'm going to really look at Villanova, Kansas, and shockingly, I'm going to look at Texas Tech. I really do think this team's got the depth to really put a run in here in the tournament, and I think they can make an Elite 8. It depends on who they're playing when it gets to that point. But this has been a team all year that has had big victories over teams like Oklahoma, who, by the way, I feel is extremely overrated, but that's besides the point. And they've won all these big games in these big-time situations.
It's going to be big for Texas Tech. They're currently on a 2-game losing streak right now, but they have Kansas on Sunday.
They got Kansas and they got West Virginia.
They have them at home. They have Kansas, and they go to WVU, which West Virginia can be beaten at home because West Virginia is the most inconsistent basketball program in NCAA history. I don't think there's any denying that.
Defense, though. That many teams in the tournament really don't. In the top 25, I mean.
Yeah, I was actually... Did you guys call him Barstool Sports? Dave Portnoy was saying since Bob Huggins got thrown off the court, he was videotaping it, and he's like, I don't know why and I don't know how, but just put them in to win it all. West Virginia, this is a team that's got an attitude. And I love Dave Portnoy, but I've never disagreed with something more in my entire life. I'm sorry, I have friends.
West Virginia has had that attitude for ever since Dean Huggins was the coach.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
I really don't think it's anything special, their attitude. They have that every single year, but when it comes down to it, when they need someone to get a bucket, they don't have anybody can do it.
A bucket. They just need a bucket, and they never can get it.
That's the thing.
I actually, so there's one team I really wanted to highlight because me and Mike have been talking a lot about this team. I'm going to shout it back to home right now. Any hope for UVA this year? I mean, they're number one right now. You got to give them the benefit of the doubt. Do you think this UVA team's different in comparison to past UVA teams that folds in the NCAA tournament?
I don't
honestly
know. I really don't know. Last year I thought they had a legitimate chance with Malcolm Brogdon. No, that was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
I really don't know.
Yeah.
UVA is just one team that you just. I think they fold under pressure when it comes to NCAA tournament time.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
They've just never been known for offense, and at the end of the day, it's good to have a great defense, but you're gonna have to be able to score some points if you want to win a national championship. You can only get so far just shutting teams down. When it comes to it, you're eventually going to have to outscore someone because that's how you win a game. You score more points than someone else. So you're going to have to be able to score those points in clumps. And Virginia just really...
Yeah, just ask Temple.
It's just, yeah. and just Virginia can't do that.
Especially with the fast-paced offensive teams like Texas Tech, like you were mentioning, Taylor.
This is actually interesting now. I'm looking at Joe Lunardi's bracketology, potential what the bracket could look like as of now, compare what the NCAA has put out with their top 4 seeds in every bracket, blah, 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 all that.
Yeah.
Really, Virginia, in their bracket, they're 2 seeds Auburn, 3 seeds Cincy. Honestly, it's Cincy and Virginia in that bracket for me. I mean, you have West Virginia at a 4 seed, and you have teams like Ohio State and Louisiana and Nevada and Virginia Tech. I mean, that looks like a favorable bracket for Virginia.
It does. Do you think Cincinnati could overtake Virginia? Because I really do think
that'll be a great game because they're both more known as defensive teams. Cincinnati can score the ball a little bit better though, but I would like to see that go against Virginia. I think that'll be a good game if that happens. But looking at this bracket, Virginia does have a shot. It's just will they fold against a Seton Hall who's sneaky, athletic, and really quick, and who can beat you off the dribble?
Don't forget about that Big East, man. You can never forget about.
About the Big East.
You can never forget about
Seton Hall has some swag too.
We said that last year too. Remember when we were picking our brackets? Yeah.
Especially with that win over Villanova.
Oh yeah, that's big.
Yeah, that's when they made their mark.
They played great ball there in Orange.
Yeah, they were a 6 seed. Yeah,
they
were a 6 seed last year. Yeah, we're all on them.
Yeah, all on them. I actually.
Here's Vermont again.
Remember
Vermont. There's Vermont. 13. There's a 13 seed again. Hi Vermont. What's up?
About Alabama?
They've got some good players. Colin Sexton, man, I'm a big fan of Colin Sexton. Actually, Alabama got a couple of votes this week to be ranked. I think they could sneak in the SEC. I think they will sneak in, actually. I'm going to give it to Alabama. I think they will sneak in. What they'll do in that tournament, though, I don't know. Yeah. It depends. I just don't think, offensively it's a great basketball team. I just don't think when they go up against these big time, like Mike said, in the NCAA tournament, they're going to be able to put up the amount of points and still respond on defense.
Okay, so I was just talking about a weak bracket portion in the South with Virginia. Now we shift down to the West, according to Joe Lunardi. Look at this meat grinder. You have Kansas. You have Creighton and Texas A&M, two teams who were better earlier in the year, have struggled a bit of late. But you have Rhode Island, who's pretty good. Arizona, who's really good. Butler and Baylor, who are 2 usually pretty good basketball programs. Then you have North Carolina, Houston, and Oklahoma. I mean, who knows? Trae Young can maybe catch on fire if he gets a little time off.
That's a game.
That is a game and a half. And you have Michigan State. That's a meat grinder right there because honestly it was Let's see, there's 4 matchups right there. I don't know what the heck's gonna happen.
Michigan State versus University of California, Santa Barbara. That's such a first-round matchup.
Yeah, it's such a first-round matchup.
I also love that North Carolina.
I like
Charleston.
Kansas Harvard because I love that when Ivy League schools win, and if they win as a 16 seed, that'd be pretty cool.
Bro, the College of Charleston versus the
if Florida
Tar Heels.
Gulf Coast is a 16 seed, and if they play Xavier, that is a prime time upset candidate.
Every year, you can never forget about Dunk City. I never forgotten about Dunk City. That was a great year. Still, I mean, honestly, that program to me is so hilarious because if you pay attention to them outside of the tournament, they're always so, okay. In the NCAA tournament, they're just unreal. Every single year, it's hilarious. I don't even know. It's like George Mason that one year. George Mason went to the Final Four. Man, they had an okay regular season, but when it came time to play the tournament, they said, you want to know what? We're doing it this year.
It's that Cinderella story type.
It was the Cinderella story. Is VCU may not make it this year. Speaking of another Virginia school that's actually had a lot of success in the tournament, VCU's probably not going to make it this year.
Virginia Tech might make it.
I think Virginia Tech will make it. They've been a great team this year, upsetting UVA last week. They received some top 25 votes this week. I'm feeling Virginia Tech.
Yeah, so a thing that grinds my gears, as we could say, as of right now, according to Joe Lunardi, only 3 American teams will make the tournament. I mean, depending on what happens in the conference tournament, I really think there should be a 4th team if it's not Temple, that maybe a Tulsa at least gets a playing game. I mean, the American is a really good conference. You have schools like Memphis, Temple, Cincinnati, Wichita State, Houston. I mean, you got to give some 3.
Yeah.
I think we should have a little bit more than 3.
I think they should be 4. Maybe that's just because I'm a student at Temple University, but I think we should have 4.
Well, what other team would you have, though?
If it's not Temple, so I'm going to put Houston, Cincinnati, Wichita. I'm going to just lock them in there. If it had to not be Temple, I would most likely put Tulsa in there, although earlier in the year I would have put in SMU, but SMU's been struggling.
Right.
I'd put Tulsa in there, but even that's a tough argument. I hate to sound biased, but if I'm going to pick a 4 team, man, I'm going to just say it. When it comes down to it, I would pick Temple logically if they do what they're supposed to do.
The ACC has 10 teams in there, according to Joe Lunardi right now. 10?
We don't need 10 ACC teams.
We don't need 10 ACC teams. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You got 5 of them ranked. Okay, you want to throw in Virginia Tech because they beat Virginia one day. I mean, hey, you want to get NC State some love.
Yeah,
they got some pretty cool jerseys, but 10? Are you kidding me? Don't throw in Syracuse because they have Jim Boeheim. Syracuse
has been bad this year. I swear to God, if Syracuse gets in there and we don't.
I mean, come on.
They've been bad this year. I said at the start of this year, someone asked me, do you think Syracuse has a chance? And I said, probably not. Just because that team is not playing like they used to, man. Not even close.
What about your Volunteers?
My Volunteers.
How have they been this year?
Mom, I gotta admit, Mom, our Volunteers, my mom actually went to University of Tennessee. They've been playing some great basketball this year. Auburn's running that conference, but Tennessee had a tough loss to Alabama last week, but Alabama played a great game on the road in Tuscaloosa. Tough loss. I really, really like the Tennessee Vols this year. I actually think they're gonna bust into that Sweet 16. I don't know. It depends on what happens in that bracket, though. They've been a team like Temple. They've just been playing at a more elite level. When I say this, high and low. But more of an elite low, when they're when they're not low like Temple, because when Temple's low, they're rock bottom. Yeah. But I mean, when Tennessee's low, they're still giving you a good game. When they play high though, that's a scary good basketball team. Tennessee's been a great team all season. Finally, it took them a long time to get that recruiting class in there, get all the right pieces, but they've been well coached this year. Knoxville, they needed a little something. That football team was awful this year. I mean, they need something with basketball after that. That was embarrassing football season. Horrible. I don't even want to talk about it. Florida killed us. Florida killed us on that Hail Mary. Never won another SEC game after that Hail Mary. Florida killed our season.
That was
They murdered it cold blood, man. They said, no more of that. We were like, all right, I guess that's how that's going. But yeah, I mean, piggyback off your point, Mike, actually the SEC has really floored me this year, obviously, with Auburn and Alabama being a great team, like Thomas said, Tennessee being a great basketball team, A&M was starting out hot.
Arkansas started out pretty hot.
Playing well, yeah.
Kentucky's having a bit of a down year. This was just making NCAA so weird. Kentucky, all them they're not playing their best.
They're not even ranked.
Where's Wright State? Wright State would be in the NCAA tournament. Where's Wright State? That's probably North Carolina.
Never heard of it.
It's probably North Carolina. I'm gonna look it up. I bet you it's North Carolina. It sounds like a North Carolina school.
Wright State.
Let's see. Watch it be
Isn't
in Virginia.
He from North Carolina?
Watch it be in Virginia. Oh my gosh! In a shocker, it's in Fairborn, Ohio. Really got
Ohio.
me. Ohio.
Yeah.
Is Dayton gonna be there? No, wait, they're in the A10. They've been having a rough year too, actually. They've been down low in the A10.
Nah.
The coach left, Archie Miller, right?
Yeah, Archie Miller left, yeah. And they were a great team a couple years back. Dayton pulled off that huge upset. Dayton Flyers.
A team that could
Xavier.
sneak into the tournament that would be pretty cool would be Penn State.
Don't say
Be
it.
Penn State.
Oh, I know. They've been playing great basketball.
I saw them scrimmage Bloomsburg University because I have a couple of friends who go to Bloomsburg, so I made the trip out to Penn State to watch that game. Penn State's got some ballers, man. Like, they just beat Ohio State at home. They could definitely do some wreck. Like, 100%. They could definitely get in, especially if it comes Big Ten tournament time.
What's their record right now?
Oh, I'm full. Give me 2 seconds. Just Wi-Fi.
Luke Hancock. I'm still looking at this Loiusville team, by the way. Great team.
They're 19-11.
It's not too bad.
It's not.
They
bad.
have
It's
wins
better than
against.
us.
They have two. They have 2 wins against Ohio State. 2. They only have a 3-point loss at Purdue.
A loss to Indiana, who's been very bad this year.
Very. They lost
Yeah.
to Wisconsin, who's been bad this year too. That's tough. And they played schools like Campbell, Fairleigh Dickinson, and Montana in their first 3, so that's not going to help. They just lost to Michigan. That's a hurtful one. But I mean, that's a team on the bubble that deserves some consideration because hey, if we're gonna have weird schools like Texas Tech inside of our top 10, let's throw Penn State in the tournament. Let's just go. Let's just hey, if we're getting a little weird, let's go full weird.
Yeah. There are a couple of schools that you mentioned earlier. UCLA's been playing a little bit better ball. They got 20 top 25 votes right now. Baylor's leading with 52 top 25 votes. A lot of people have been talking about Baylor actually this year and their chances of getting into this NCAA tournament. I got to watch them last week. Pretty solid team. Not too bad. Once again, I'm going to give it back to the Big 12 because I really think the Big 12 this season has been very astounding to me. Like, I've been very impressed with the Big 12, the SEC too, but especially the Big 12. And I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a different tournament. It's just going to be very different. Because you're not going to... I mean, to be honest, like, do you think Kentucky even gets into this tournament right now?
I think so.
They'll probably get in.
They've been playing bad, though.
Man. It's that brand name. That brand name will get you into it. Yeah. And they
I
got the record,
concur.
too, to prove it as well.
Yeah.
I like
100%.
UCLA as well.
So, a team from the A10 that's 18 right now, Rhode Island, that's a great basketball program. Do you think they got a shot to really do some damage this year? Atlantic 10 basketball team? Really try to sneak in there?
Rhode Island made it last year, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
And we got Steph Curry's alma mater in the 3 spot right now in the A10, the Davidson Wildcats.
Nice.
I know, right?
So, Rhode Island can definitely do something. I think that they have a little experience under their belt. I mean, they're not high in the ranks of anything in really regard. They're not that great of a rebounding team in NCAA ranks, but I mean, all you need is just that one scrappy team who just wants to work hard and just wants it more than the other team. That's all you need to maybe squeak a Sweet 16 or hell out of nowhere if you get some matchups that are favorable to you to a Elite 8 performance. You know, I mean, it's not out of the question. It's 100% not out of the question.
You know what's funny to me? Oklahoma has a terrible conference record, and they're only 16-11, and no one's really doubting that they're not going to be in the tournament. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, they're going to be in the tournament.
Because I think it's just Trae Young. I think the
inconsistent.
NCAA is just like, okay, so we want money, so let's put Trae Young in the tournament. Let's get Trae Young on TV. So, I mean, honestly...
They've been so inconsistent. I mean, Trae Young scores a lot of buckets, but Thomas made a great point last week. He turns that ball over so much. So much. Great player. He's going to take a couple of years, though, Mike. You made a good point last week.
Yeah, he needs to stay.
He's going to take a couple of years.
He better not declare.
So you think... I think
Oh, yeah,
he's gonna
because
declare.
Steph Curry didn't leave after his freshman year. And he's pretty much exactly kind of like a player like Steph Curry. Stay all 4 years, kid. I'm sorry. You need to grow. You still got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
Big 12 defense is doing this to you? Oh, good Lord. Imagine what a Western Conference would do to you.
Yeah.
But he's a whole lot smaller than Steph Curry, though.
Exactly. He's only 19.
Yeah.
I mean, Steph Curry didn't become, really, known face of the Warriors, all this, he's the greatest shooter of all time until he was really, 24.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It took a couple of years.
Yeah,
because he was drafted when they still had the navy blue and orange.
Oh yeah, with Monte Ellis. But his first 2 years, I think he played with Monte Ellis in the backcourt.
Right.
Monte Ellis.
That's a name and a half.
Can I have Monte Ellis at my wedding?
Yeah, right.
It was nice, though.
Monte Ellis has to be at my wedding. Oh my gosh.
Monte Ellis was a walking bucket.
So do we give it? Have you guys gotten a chance to watch TCU this year? Because they technically have a better conference record than Baylor and Oklahoma, and they're 19-9, which is also better than Baylor, but they're not really getting too much love. And what does that tell you? Probably not the toughest schedule overall, but any love for TCU this year, the Horned Frogs, LaDainian Tomlinson's alma mater.
I like the little
Andy
purple
Dalton.
jerseys.
I do like the purple jersey. I love the cursive frog.
Yeah, TCU had a pretty strong year last year, if I'm not mistaken, too, right?
Yeah, they did have a strong season last season. I'm gonna pull up actually. Let's look at who they've beaten and who they've lost to. All right, so they beat Iowa State, who's been bad this season, unfortunately. They beat Oklahoma State, who upset Oklahoma. Which what does that even mean? Because I'm gonna say it again. Oklahoma is too inconsistent for me to keep my attention for more than 10 minutes. Lost to West Virginia, lost to Kansas, and they lost Texas Tech. So that gives it right there. No really quality wins. Even 19-9, which I think Temple would kill to be 19-9 right now.
It's just no quality wins. That's the thing with Temple. Temple has quality wins.
They beat a West Virginia team earlier in the season, beat them by a good amount, but I don't know what that's going to mean, to be honest. They beat a ranked Nevada team.
They beat them when they were ranked number 7. West Virginia. They have a game against Texas Tech. That's big. TCU.
Yeah.
At
Great
Texas
start.
Tech.
Wow, what a fantastic start. Too bad they were all cakes.
Yeah.
Too bad they were all birthday cake. They got Yale in there. Ooh, they beat SMU. Got to give some respect to the
They beat
American.
University of Louisiana Monroe.
That's a big one. That's an elite program. 100%. All right, well, a lot more is going to come out in the coming weeks here. We got 3-4 more games left in the regular season for each team. A lot to talk about. Conference tournament time coming up. We're going to move on from the little guys to the big guys. We're going to take you from the minor leagues to the major leagues. That's right. We got NBA talk coming up after the break. Let's get it. And we're back here. Hope that popcorn still tastes as good as it did 10 minutes ago when you took it out of the microwave. We're going to be moving on from college basketball to the NBA. All-Star Weekend just came to a wrap. Team LeBron beat Team Steph. Yay, Kyrie. They were all together. It was a big reunion.
It was really happy.
It was so cute.
Yeah,
it was so
they were
cute.
laughing together.
Well, now we got the second half of the NBA season coming up. This time last season, it was pretty much assumed it was going to be Golden State and Cleveland. But now we got a couple of guys creeping up here. Cleveland's finally got their act together. What's going on with Boston? They're 2 games back. The Raptors, really. The Houston Rockets are a great basketball team. Can they take on the Warriors? Everything. Second half of the season, boys. Who are we looking at in the Eastern Conference right now?
My Philadelphia 76ers.
You're looking at the Sixers. Looking at the Sixers.
Nah. All right, I'm gonna keep it real with you guys real quick. I'm looking at the Boston Celtics mainly, but I'm still looking at the Sixers to creep up and maybe make a semifinals appearance and have. Okay, so hear me out. Okay. So look at the standings right now. You guys all see it. So we have Boston 2 games behind Toronto. So there's a chance Boston can get the number 1 seed, barring a Toronto collapse, whatever. As it's looking right now, there's a good chance that Boston and Cleveland could be the 2-3 seed, which would mean a semifinals matchup. They could not mean the conference finals. So the way the Sixers are at, 2 games behind the Washington Wizards, who currently have John Wall out for an extended period of time. They could jump. They're better than the Bucks. They're better than the Pacers. They can jump them. They're playing their best basketball right before the break too. So they're just coming around. They're just starting to come around.
The Bucks.
I
don't know about that.
They can beat the Bucks though easily.
Really?
They can definitely beat the Bucks.
To be honest,
We have
Alfred Payton.
Yeah. Listen, so we could. There's a good chance we can get the 4 or 5 seed. There's a good chance a Sixers Bucks matchup could be a 4 or 5 seed.
Okay.
Listen, the Sixers could beat the Bucks in a 7-game series. If we get the Raptors, I'm not saying we'll beat them. I will not say we will beat them, but we can beat them. I mean, tell me someone on the Raptors, Celtics, Cavaliers, Wizards, Pacers, Bucks, Heat, Pistons, Hornets, Knicks, Bulls, Nets, Magic, or Hawks who are guarding Joel Embiid.
You just dug yourself in the hole. Bucks, you got Giannis Antetokounmpo.
All right, listen.
However,
Joel Embiid is so much bigger than him. Like when it comes up, he's got the length, but Joel Embiid's got. I mean, Giannis obviously has more length, but
he got a bigger body.
Joe's got the beef.
Yeah, that's true.
Joe's got the beef.
Well, what other teams do I look at? Hassan Whiteside with the Heat.
And that's always a good matchup, but JoJo always does better than him every time they match up. Because he always puts Hassan Whiteside in the minus, and JoJo's always plus 28 or something again when he plays Hassan.
The one team that I look at right now is the Wizards. have been the biggest
if
disappointment of the season.
Oh yeah,
they can definitely turn it around because they're still in a good spot. 4 seed. If they can find their identity without
they play
John
in DC.
Wall.
Me and Thomas are from DC. We don't get nice things in DC, Mike. we don't get anything.
Oh, we kind of don't get good things in Philadelphia either. Other
just
than,
got a Super Bowl, though.
I mean, outside of
I'll
that,
give you that.
okay, we got 2 nice things in the past 25 years.
DC's got like no nice things.
No.
No nice things. They got like Super Bowls. Okay, the Redskins.
And we only got the Capitals, really. And
All we got,
Cup.
he knows. Finally got another DC guy. All we got in DC is the Caps, man. And that's a whole nother talk right now. But the Caps are not looking like they're ready for playoff hockey currently. But to get back to basketball, sorry to steer that off. The Washington Wizards, to me, are that team in DC that absolutely no one cares about unless they're up a series in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's very little fandom around the Washington Wizards.
So fair weather fans, pretty much?
Pretty much fair weather fans.
I wouldn't say that, though.
You would think there's more of a following in DC for the Wiz?
No.
I don't think there's
for the
much.
Redskins, but not for the
Oh, yeah, for the Redskins.
Yeah.
And the Caps, too. There's a pretty good following for the Caps. But, I mean, for me personally, like, I just feel like the Wizards have never had the backing. They've never had the talent. Like, John Wall's a great player. I love Bradley Beal. I love Martin Gortat. I
don't like Martin Gortat. I think they should have traded him during the trade deadline.
Well, what was your opinion on Otto Porter in the offseason? Because there's a lot of talk about getting rid of him, keeping him, all that discussion and what's beneficial.
I wouldn't have paid him $100 million. So
Me neither. That's my point. Why would you pay Otto Porter $100 million to play in DC? That's not going to beat LeBron James, and I'm going to say it's not going to beat Kyrie Irving up in Boston.
Right. I
don't think it's going to do it. I hate to just be totally biased. One team I'm looking at is the Boston Celtics, who had a fantastic start.
You obviously have to look at them, obviously.
Yeah, fantastic start to the season, 2 games back. As Kyrie said 2 months ago, everyone in the NBA wants us to turn on the panic button, so we're not going to do it. Well, we're right back at that spot. Kyrie, you got to basically rally your team now. You got the whole second half of the season. A lot can happen. Great team in the first half. There's still discussion of Marcus Smart. Is he still going to be in Boston going forward? Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, both young guys, but are you going to be able to afford all of them? This is a big year for the Celtics, despite not having Gordon Hayward, and a lot of people may not realize that. You know what I mean? Because this team now, I mean, it hurts to say it, but this is part of sports. You take with what you got. I mean, look at when Carson Wentz went down. The Eagles still bounced in there and they still won the Super Bowl. It's the same thing with the Celtics. It's not the same type of comparison, but Gordon Hayward's down. It's still a great team that can compete. And up until about 2 weeks ago, the Cleveland Cavaliers were nothing. Well, now they got something figured out down there, and you got to worry about the Celtics because it's like, while the Cavs are figuring it out, are the Celtics finally starting to realize, man, we still got stuff to work out? Because what was going on there in that start of the season has to start going on again if the Celtics want to have a chance, because the reality is it's a great team, but you don't have Gordon, and with Gordon, it's a huge difference. And now that you got this great young team, in the future, you're going to have to start making decisions here. Mm-hmm. And it's going to creep up a lot sooner, man. I'm not saying this is the Celtics' year, but it's a pretty damn good team right now. And they got a Cleveland team who, up until now, is finally starting to figure it out. But I even still think with Jordan Clarkson, George Hill, and all those great
they're
players,
more than beatable.
Yeah, they're more than beatable.
Well, The Cavaliers.
I think the Cavaliers are more than this year specifically. Maybe not any other year, but this year.
The Lakers, 5th and 8th best player, are going to suddenly make the Cavs, perennial finals contenders.
I think what changes the dynamic of the team right now is athleticism that comes.
It obviously changes the dynamic, but 2 point, the NBA is a talent game, and you're gonna have to match up with the Warriors somehow.
Yeah. I'm actually going to give your Sixers a good point here, and then we're going to wrap up the show. The Sixers have impressed me the most in the 2 weeks leading up to the All-Star break than any team in the NBA, more than the Rockets. And if this seeding works out, I would not be surprised if we get a Boston, Cleveland, Sixers, all those guys.
I think Joel Embiid isn't playing back-to-backs, so he can be ready for a playoff. So if we have to play a 7-game series against the Bucks, he's ready to go all 7 games.
Right. And, just basically out of the West, just the Rockets and Warriors. What's going to come down there.
That's fine.
But
OKC as well. Don't forget about OKC.
Can't forget about him. Especially where Paul George is going to play next season. Carmelo's in the retirement home about.
A lot to talk about.
A lot to talk about, 100%. Hope you had a nice time listening to us today, folks. We had a lot of hoops for you. The weather here could be a little bit better in Philadelphia, but spring's right around the corner. Spring break's coming up.
Keep
folks.
holding on.
Any last remarks, guys?
Keep chugging along, fellas. We'll be in spring shortly, where we get consistently 70-degree weather. But Hey, pitchers and catchers report. They have nice weather. That's all that matters because we got some fun baseball coming around and hockey's getting some steam. Basketball's getting some steam.
The ladies won gold today, by the way.
Oh,
we have to shout them out. Our ladies took home gold today in the Olympics.
Of course.
USA, baby. USA.
Great
job,
game.
ladies.
Great game.
Great job. 100%. Thomas, any last words for the folks?
Philly, hey, let's do it, baby.
Hey, I love it.
I love it. All right, well, that's it for today, folks. Listen to us next week. Hope you had a good time listening. We have even more fun presenting it to you. Have a great weekend, folks.